dogs, what are the most powerful rogue Yu-Gi-Oh strategies post the Justice Hunters set? With Justice Hunters being released, there are going to be even more powerful meta and tier 2 Yu-Gi-Oh strategies. But what about the rogue, the little guy, the underdogs? Today, big dogs, I'm gonna be flexing my chain, and we're gonna be talking about some of the best rogue strategies you can use into the new format. Because there's a whole different type of meta change, of course, the rules for us are going to change. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with y'all, big dogs? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, I don't remember the words in Spanish yet. Donto, leto, the beginning of o, deo, ruin, end of dia. Yep, close enough. Look, big dog, I got 453 days on Duolingo. I know what I'm talking about. I'm just tired. Today, big dog, we are going to be discussing the top rogue decks, all the way from the strategies that can challenge the best decks in the game, all the way down to Copia. And I have a very simple criteria for these decks to follow. One, since we're moving into the Justice Hunters format, I'm going to be telling you guys right now, hand traps are pretty freaking useless. So basically, these strategies are going to be rated on how useful are they without hand traps and how well can they play into some of the best boards in the game. Even bonus points if your strategy can play board breakers incredibly well. The next thing we gotta rate these strategies on is pretty simple too. These strategies also have to present at least one favorable matchup against a top tier contending deck. As a rogue Yu-Gi-Oh player, I am not gonna lie, we are not in the best spot, and it's not because of our strength, it's simply because Yu-Gi-Oh is changing, it's evolving, it's getting stronger. So understanding what rogue Yu-Gi-Oh strategy to pick at the correct time and what strategies that we're gonna be going against is the most important. This is a guide to hopefully help you find out. Let's go ahead and start off with the new stuff already. It's not just Dragonmaid, it's Dragonmaid Dragon Tail. Brother man, I take back everything I've ever said about if it has a tail, it's getting nailed, because it's getting way too freaky. You guys finally figured out how to put two Gooner decks together and make it work. Dragon Tail is a new fusion-based Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that allows you to be able to fusion summon from your hand with monsters. The deck also has 9 copies of Branded Fusion. One of Dragonmaid's biggest problems was that it didn't have enough engine to be able to support it. But now with the Dragon Tail cards, not only do you get cards that are fairly powerful, summoning some pretty complex monsters, a lot of them, it also has some playability against some of the top decks as well as a lot of modernness. I think that Dragonmaid is one of those strategies that can challenge. I do have my concerns about Dragonmaid against K9 based Yu-Gi-Oh strategies, but outside of that, I think you might be cooking. Now, Centurion is going to have a different story. This deck has always been hand trap dependent. At least to some degree, a lot of players have been experimenting with the Millenium engine because it does give you level 6 and level 8 monsters to be able to synchro 10 as well as 12. The bestial monsters may be hit and they may not be as powerful, but they're still decently strong, especially against Malice because of Branded Regain. I wouldn't say that Centurion is in the best spot of all time, but it's not in a terrible one. I would say pilot dependent. Shooting Quasar Dragon is still an omni-negation card, and while decks like Branded Dragon Tail can easily play around it, fortunately enough, that's not the meta. You're gonna have to stand on 10 toes and beat my shooting Blazar Cosmic Blaze. The one that they summoned, the negate one. Maurice, you know which one I'm talking about, right? Don't put the wrong card. Chimera. Big dogs, if you're old like your boy, you got chills every time Yugi said Chimera or Gazelle. I summon Gazelle, the king of mythical beasts. Bro, I sounded like Martin Luther King with a dual disc, but unfortunately, Chimera had a dream to be one of the best deck. And unfortunately, it needs help. It's a worse Fiendsmith deck than some of the others, and it's also a worse White Forest deck than White Forest. It doesn't necessarily have its own area to step into, but as far as an anime deck, this is easily one of the best. Kashtira is also a deck that I think is going to struggle. While cards like Kashtira Unicorn and Fenrir are pretty strong cards, this deck typically relied on hand traps to be able to bust boards. On top of that, power creep is starting to catch up. Kashtira Fenrir don't look that good good right now no more. I think that Kashtira as a pure deck needs help. It's definitely not copium, but Kashtira as an engine inside of one of your decks seems like a better fit for the deck. You can still run powerful cards like Unicorn Fenrir in Birth, and you get the best of both worlds, being able to supplant this engine inside of certain Yu-Gi-Oh decks to get you even more advantage. Labrynth, mommy milkers. Players have always been playing Ash Blossom, and it's probably not going away because of the Molcharmy cards. But players have also started playing Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, which does stop your Big Welcome Labrynth. Tears for the Big Welcome Labrynth. Your opponent having that and Dominus Impulse can really be bad for Labrynth. But when you start to think about it, this is one of the very few decks that can search Dominus Impulse in itself. The virus cards are always on the table, Dimensional Barrier is still cracking, and then for those Graveyard Reliant decks, the entire meta, Different Dimension Ground. I think that Labrynth is one of those Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that 100% can challenge and is the epitome of a rogue deck. A Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that requires a big brain to not only build, but also to be able to play. Next is Red Eyes Black Dragon. Red Eyes did get support with the Dragon Tails. This deck can summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon before Red Eyes Dark Dragoon was cool. Yeah, buddy, go ahead and pack that one up. Red Eyes reminds me of that one family member that goes through an identity crisis at 40. Except I don't remember if Red Eyes ever had an identity. First it was a burn deck, then it was a fusion deck, then it was a ritual deck, then it was a crit deck. Red Eyes, what exactly are you? Because you have Xseed monsters too. Unfortunately, Dragon Tails doesn't necessarily make this deck more consistent, and the Red Eyes fusion monsters, other than Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, were never really highly sought after summonable cards. This was 100% copium, just like Magical Musketeers. Now look, hear me out. Magical Musketeer Fiendsmith is better copium than Red Eyes. But if you're playing Magical Musketeer Fiendsmith, you're playing half of a Fiend pile. You're not really playing enough. Understandably, Mutiny of the Sky does make this deck a lot stronger, but outside of Magical Musketeer, Starfire, Casper, and the one pictured, what exactly are you going to be playing in Magical Musketeer? That's 100% copium. I think that Fiend pile is crazy strong, but you're missing a really big element to make this deck pop. Bestial Fiendsmith. This deck was once reliant on hand traps to be able to keep up. And I really hate to say it, but the new support is not supporting as much. Now, I do think that players may try to experiment with Bestial Fiendsmith Dragontail, but I don't think that that would be a really reliable version, seeing that that is a lot of engine to be placing inside of your deck. For right now, I would put Primite into Needs Help, which is really weird because Duelist Advance did give it its best support yet, but maybe when I put it in Needs Help, it just needs a bit of a retool, where some of these other decks really do need help. Eventually, somebody is going to figure out how to make Primite again. It's a really reliable engine that gets you some really powerful cards. Salamangreat, my man. My boys. Saladogs. This deck is one of the best decks in the entire universe. This deck can't be stopped. This deck... Brother, man, Salamangreat was power crept in Snake Eyes format when it got support. You think that it's gonna get stronger now? It didn't. But at least if fire is doing bad, then water isn't doing too much better. Ever since Sharks lost Bahamut Shark, I really should take it off the tier list because this deck's bad. The big problem with Shark was almost like Salamangreat, except where Salamangreat required one card combos, this deck always required multiple cards. And the boards that you can make nowadays, nowhere near as strong. Now, if we're talking about a more complete Yu-Gi-Oh deck that can compete inside of this format, I think Unchained is it. Especially if you make a version of Unchained that's Unchained Fiendsmith Magical Musketeer with the new Mutiny in the Sky cards. Oh my boy, you cooking! Unchained is 1000% a solid choice for rogue Yu-Gi-Oh decks. The only problem that you're going to have with this particular strategy is dealing with the Charmies. But outside of that, this was one of those ironically modernized Yu-Gi-Oh decks, a strategy that actually progressively pushes against a particular style of play, destruction, while also being a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that can play through almost any situation and any hand traps. Incredibly good at going second and plays some of the best going second cards. Ah, yes, the best pendulum deck in the world. What was your name again? Bro, I remember that we talked about this deck being a good Blue Eyes and Fiendsmith deck. For some reason, its name escapes me right now. I remember everything about the deck though. It has 2 pendulum scales. They require counters, resonance counters. They have the ability to take the opponent's monster, go full Blue Eyes and Fiendsmith combo like I said, and the cards can be pretty good once it gets started. This monster is Celatrice. I just don't remember the archetype's name. That's genuinely how forgettable this strategy should be. I'm putting it in Copium. To be honest, I really wouldn't even be sure if people remembered Vaalmonica. It's a really fun experimental strategy that actually takes some of the worst mechanics and makes it fairly decent. But as far as competing, I don't think that's it. But I know one thing that you guys should be doing if you want to compete. You should be going to TheCaliEffect.com and getting your Raven Wing sleeves today. Here, let me show you. Oh. Raven Wing version 3 is on its last leg, big dogs. And what I mean by that, I'm putting a sellout because I want them out of my house. We are getting ready for version 4, but these are still the quality Supreme sleeves that you guys can get before it is too late. I'm not 100% sure when version 4 will come in, but I know for sure that you guys need to go to TheCaliEffect.com and purchase your sleeves today. Now, it's pretty interesting because Yubel and Unchained are almost the same deck. They're a Fiend Control Pile style Yu-Gi-Oh deck, but the only reason why I would put this strategy below the other ones in Pilot Dependent is simply because there's almost no reason to play Yubel over Unchained. What I mean by that is that it is harder to play Yubel and less rewarding because Phantom Yubel is only at 1. If that card comes off more than 1 though, Fiend Pile is going even crazier. Regardless though, Yubel is a really solid strategy that you could consider if you wanted to play it. Next is Exodia. Obliterate! Yeah, big dog, this deck is pretty brainless, but hey man, it's not bad. I actually think that this entire bottom row of Needs Help are still pretty good Yu-Gi-Oh decks. They can actually win quite a few things. It's just the ease of being able to get that I don't think would be as high. Now, Dragon Tales. This is Dragon Tales pure. Looking at Justice Hunters, Dragon Tales is probably the only rogue strategy of the two, with Yummy already being seen as a tier 1, tier 2 deck, and K9 being seen as a tier 0 engine. Dragon Tales comes out as the 3rd place, but this isn't Valance. This isn't Ryugi. This is actually a legit strategy that can fusion summon from the hand on turn 0 and has access to any fusion monster you desire so long as you put in the work. The one thing that I realized about Dragon Tail is that it is incredibly weak to K9. It also plays into cards like Triple Tactics Thrust and Triple Tactics Talent, something that players are going to be using. I think Dragon Tail as a pure Yu-Gi-Oh deck is going to be pilot dependent at best. Dragon Tail is nowhere near a bad Yu-Gi-Oh deck, but I think the hybrid versions are going to be a little bit stronger coming out the gate. Now, Artmage did see some play. Yeah, it did. And it's not a bad deck. It actually has the potential to be one of the best Fiendsmith decks in the game. But for right now, I would definitely say pilot dependent, and that's simply because there's better Fiendsmith decks. Artmage does do a whole lot of things, but right now isn't its time. Doom of Dimensions does give it some support that makes it even better, and this is going to be one of those Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that is thought of to be supported throughout the entire year. It has time to grow. Meanwhile, Punk, on the other hand, is already grown to a full-grown man, my boy. This is easily one of the better decks in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. It's almost a disgrace that it's even in the Rogue tier list. It's probably tier 2. Now again, these aren't in any particular order, I just kind of wanted to move this around, but Punk does really well about playing into boards and breaking boards. It has the ability to be able to play the hand traps and board breakers that you need, and it can make other hand traps and board breakers themselves look fairly stupid if you play the deck correctly. Ultra Athlete did get support with the K9 cards, but if we're being honest with you guys, you told me to talk about Ultra Athlete. I think that UA is representative of the Yu-Gi-Oh player base. While there are some people that are superior athletes that just so happen to play Yu-Gi-Oh, there are more Yu-Gi-Oh players that don't even know what grass is. And the comparison to UA would be there are some really crazy strong UA cards, but overall, as a totality, Yu-Gi-Oh players don't even know what grass is. Rescue Ace needs to get a fire truck and fire itself into the copium. Now, I'm not gonna lie though, I actually want to put it in Needs Help because I'm thinking a supplemental engine can make Rescue Ace better. Maybe K9 Rescue Ace could be a thing, and it's simply because if your opponent's hand trapping your Rescue Ace, then your K9 cards are live. It means that you get into an entirely different engine, and since Rescue Ace does not need its extra deck, that's perfectly fine. But if you don't get hand trapped, then Rescue Ace still sets 4 cards face down, and those cards are low-key a game winner. I don't know, maybe I'm cooking a little bit too much. Rescue Ace RB is still a thing too. Let me know down below in the comment section if that's something that could be cooked. Tearlaments 1000% needs help, but not in the way that you guys think it needs help. Tearlaments need help from their misery. Just take them out of it. Please, no more Tearlament support. I don't want to hear anything about Tearlaments off the ban list. I don't want to hear anything about Rukalos, Kit Kalos, get Kalos out of here. Tearlament is a solid Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that I'm pretty sure players are going to try to use with Dracotel, but I think they're going to realize that Rukalos is not going to be worth the investment. Though it could be a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy, dang. I'm not even going to lie, Dragon Tail Tearlament doesn't sound too bad. I'm going to put it in pilot dependent. Now, if you guys remember correctly, I did talk about the problems with Kashtira needing to be able to supplement it with another engine. I think that the Regenesis engine is solid. The support that it's getting endued, disappointing, but overall this is still a really solid deck that does provide a lot of board break and potential to be able to play through some of the best boards because it doesn't need its normal summon. So Lava Golem is 100% playable here. Cyber Dragon, my guys. This deck's actually crazy. I actually did a Yu-Gi-Oh duel challenge using this strategy, and it is really, really strong. Now with the K9 cards, it gets a way to play even better going first cards. Almost criminal that it's on this list. I'm gonna start it off at solid choice though. I think White Forest has the ability to make some of the most disgusting boards in the game and has always been more of a board breaker style Yu-Gi-Oh deck. This feels like the perfect format for it. And my man's Branded. Branded just might be the strongest version of Dragon Tails. If it isn't, it's probably going to be the Dragonmaid version, you gooners. Branded being one of the top rogue Yu-Gi-Oh strategies coming into 2025 was almost left field. But it makes sense because as long as you're fusing, you can't be losing, right? And lastly is Goblin Bikers. How much do I believe in Goblin Bikers? It did get a national top, but I'm not gonna say it's all that. It is a pilot-dependent Yu-Gi-Oh deck. In actuality, I'd probably say even a format-dependent Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I tell you guys what, if we stay on track and K9 and Raizio are still some of the most contending decks, easily solid choice. But if we move away from Exceed monsters and they aren't as strong, then I think this deck would drop in credibility a little bit. And big dogs, that is all that I have for the Rogue tier list post Justice Hunters. Of course, big dogs, if you guys want to see more amazing content, then you already know what to do. First of all, you support the channel by buying more Raven Wing sleeves. It's the lifeblood of the channel. And also, you can support by giving this video a thumbs up, commenting down below what Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that I missed, and also checking out these videos so I can catch you on the next one.